Welcome to the Evolution of a Property Business podcast, brought to you by Sam Watterson.
Hey everyone, it's Sam Watterson here, and thank you for joining me on the Evolution of a Property Business podcast. And today I'm joined by the fabulous Perry Power of Power Spoke Estate Agents down in Reigate. Is that right?
Sorry boy.
Me being a northern or anything south of Watford, I don't know.
Same.
Really appreciate you joining me. Me and Perry have had a really good chat before we've started recording this and gone over a few things that I'm going to try and recap on for everybody listening. But if you're an estate agent or you're interested in estate agency and you want to hear from the best who are doing things differently with a massive focus on exceptional customer service, then you do not want to miss this interview. We've been talking about automations, marketing, and really focusing on being a better agent rather than throwing a load of money out there on marketing. So we'll try and recap on a few things that we've talked about in the interview. But for the benefit of everybody listening at home on the podcast or watching us on YouTube, can we have an introduction to the man himself, please?
I'm Perry Power. I'm an estate agent and I run Power Bespoke Estate Agents, which I'm obsessed by, love it, hate it, all in one. I think that's always the best relationship with anything. Just not the wife. I hope she ain't watching this. And yeah, just an estate agent trying to change the world.
Yeah. So you're a really interesting character, because if anybody will listen to the podcast I did with Sarah Flynn, and I mentioned it in the one I did recently with Caroline, is about nobody stands in the school playground and goes, I want to be a property investor. And likewise, nobody stands in the school playground and goes, I want to be a letting agent or I want to be an estate agent, apart from you. Because didn't you, at a very early age, think, I want to be an estate agent and I want to do it different? So let's hear the backstory to that.
Yeah, so 12 years old, I designed a business card. My mum still got it in her purse, called Powers Estate Agents, Surveyors and Valuers. Because back then, I'm 35 now, but everyone seemed to do valuing and surveying as well. I think it's probably gone a bit more niche, estate agency, surveying firm, and they link up. But yeah, obsessed. All because my mum was a single mum, went on a viewing with her on a house. We were moving out of South London, out to Surrey. Dad weren't around, so I went on all the viewings with her. She really liked my opinion. And I witnessed an estate agent, looking back now, completely rip the shit out of her and handle her disgustingly. And the irony is, I look back and it was a situation that now I've handled that same situation hundreds of times myself as an agent, and I can still see the way she took the call and how he was on the phone. It was pretty much a gazumping situation, but it was handled with sheer lack of compassion, lack of empathy, just cold. Really sorry, you've had a higher offer, wish you all the best with your search. And she was distraught because it was the house that I had viewed with her, and I was like, yeah, my bed can go there.
Yeah.
So I guess I just understand or really appreciate the emotional side of moving house.
Yeah, because I think what's your mission statement for the business?
To enable more people to move on to the next chapter of their life.
Yeah, so for you, it's not about selling houses, it's about helping people move on with their story, I guess.
Just so happens that I love sales. I'm obsessed by negotiation. I was really interested in architecture when I was younger. Before I decided to be an estate agent, I was like architect, building surveyor. And that's all just come together as estate agency.
Yeah.
And I'm obsessed by it ridiculously, to the point where sometimes I think it affects my mental health, but I love it. On 80-20 rule rules my life and every aspect of it. Yeah. I love it 80% of the time and can't stand it 20% of the time, probably because I can't stand the way it operates normally. Yeah. Which then drives 80% to keep going and do better.
Yeah. Well, the whole subject of this podcast is the evolution of a property business. And what we're going to talk about is how your business has evolved and your career has evolved, but also how the industry in this country has evolved, because I see more and more people adopting a more American model where agents are becoming more specialist and more skilled rather than just being door openers. So before we talk about that, let's race back to when you were at school. So you decided you want to be an estate agent. Did you go straight into working in estate agents from school?
Yeah, 15, Saturday boy, making the tea. Hence why I can make a mean cup of tea these days, and I'm addicted to tea. Yeah, left school straight in, delivered 50 CVs to 50 estate age, hand delivered. Which actually, like, you know, sometimes I think I sound really old.
Yeah.
But I get Facebook messages or something. Oh, got any jobs going? We're not even spelling it right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, come on, man, come and knock on my door. Come and do something to proactively.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it. Got a easy, you know, really like everyone. Started as a trainee in a really small single office agency. Learn all the ways not to do it, but also all the ways to do it really well. And then just took the ways to do it really well. So my old boss was technically amazing.
Yeah.
But also a bit of a shyster as well, looking back.
Okay.
So I took the good bits. And yeah, took it through my career and then eventually opened my own when I was 21, 22. With that mad mission of enabling more people, whether that's selling a house for them, find them a house to buy, negotiating a property they've seen up north somewhere, loads of stuff. It isn't just flogging houses or selling houses.
Yeah. So you were 21, 22 when you set up your first business. Was that on your own or did you have a business partner at the time?
I had a business partner. So I worked with him. So I went from single office agency, got headhunted to go to work for another 5 office agency. Started there, moved to, on my start day, they were like, actually, Perry, we're going to have you launch the first Surrey office of Fine and Country at the time, years ago, with a guy called Paul O'Shea, who's heading up that office. And I was like, amazing. Like, I'd just come from a little office in the back end of Red Hill to Fine and Country doing a top end of the market. And amazing. Was there for a while. And we decided, actually, the world's changing. This was 2009.
Yeah.
We don't need a high street shop. We were in a situation where I couldn't go out and do a viewing because he was out on an appraisal because we couldn't lock the shop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is just stupid. There's a buyer here wanting to buy a house. There's a seller where we've got keys on their house, but I can't go and do it because I've got to keep the office open.
Yeah.
But I didn't keep it open. I put a back in 5 minutes sign and went out. Area manager come round at the similar kind of, I got the massive bollocking for locking the office.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I've just sold the house, like 1.2 million.
Yeah.
Where's the priorities here, man? This is all wrong.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, in 2010, we stripped the office away, stripped the shop away, went into a serviced office building and started doing estate agency how I felt it should be done.
So you two left that branch and
Yeah.
set your own up and went straight into a serviced office.
Yeah.
So you've always, throughout your career, been in an office rather than a high street shop.
Yeah. I remember 4 weeks in, we had to move office in the building because we chose the cheapest broom cupboard in the back end of it. It had no window, so it had no natural light. And we learned very quickly the importance of natural light.
Yeah.
Hence why I've put a massive double doors in my home office.
Yeah, yeah.
We had headaches and we were just like, it's madness.
When I started, well, not when I started Watson Co, but when we stopped doing sales in 2018 and moved from the big office we had with lettings and sales to a smaller office, I quite quickly realised that I needed to be in my own space, and that the office across the corridor came available, and I just took that because it was dirt cheap. It had no windows. But the problem was when this part of the complex was built, it was one big office that was taken by like a call centre. When they moved out, they partitioned everything. So what happened was I had just literally like the heater for pretty much the whole floor was just in my office. So if I shut the window within about 15 seconds, it was stifling and my eyeballs were like dry as a bone. So I'm sat in this office with no windows, had to have the door open constantly. So people were like walking up and down. And it's just...
What's really interesting about the shop is like, I'd never say I'd never have one. Like, I'm not one of these people that it's just very low down the priority list, in my view, for a good operating estate agency.
Yeah.
And actually, we've we've sold more property in lots of different areas because we aren't pigeonholed to a particular, Power HQ is in Reigate, but we've sold stuff so far away. Like if we want to prospect to try and get in a house in Hull because they've just called us to view a house in Surrey, we'll get our backside in their house in Hull because we're not a Reigate agent. We're just a good estate agency. Check out our reviews. That's the kind of thing that we say to people. So it opens up, I think, more opportunity for you as well.
Yeah. Okay. So you was it Power O'Shea, the original self-employed business? You ran that for a few years with your business partner. And then you guys decided to part ways and set up Power Bespoke?
Yeah, we parted ways. He stayed in Croydon. My son was all down in Reigate anyway. So then I pretty much cold started from Reigate in 2014.
Cool. So starting your own business then, as a relatively young guy, what were the important things for you to get right at the start, and how did you sort of get going off the ground and start building the momentum that you've carried on through to today?
Really important things to get right. So I guess there's loads to that. There's the brand standards, like the list of non-negotiables, the sale plan that this is how we do it here. We've got 20 estate agents, John, but this is the plan we're going to stick to for your house. Yeah. Have a read of it. The structure of a typical week for a high performing agent. Those are probably the key things that I nailed before we started bringing on agents into the company.
And so you were focused on basically just getting houses on and selling them? And
yeah, it was me plus one. I had an assistant. She was in the office. I was out appraising, viewing, listing, negotiating, selling, onward negotiating on the property purchases. Loving it, yeah.
Yeah, and so when you started building the team then and growing the business, who were your first hires? What were the roles that you were looking to get taken care of?
Agents, fee generators, revenue generators. Been very, very lucky that I've never once, we've got 95 agents on the waiting list currently, and we've never once needed to use recruitment companies to bring people into the team. My first agent who joined us, James Gordon, amazing guy. I was actually at his wedding last Friday.
Yeah.
In the 6 years. Yeah, 2016, April Fool's Day, 2016. He reminds me all the time because he thinks that he was going to turn up and I was going to be like, what are you doing here? Fucking April Fool's, mate, go away. He approached me to say, I've been watching what you've been doing in the area. I'm with a corporate agency, sick of it, battered, and I want to do kind of thing that you're doing. So he joined us, and first of then subsequently more and more, not loads. We're very, very conscious of who we take on. We run a self-employed model, so we're not one of the ones that are racing to 500 agents no matter what. Slow and steady wins the race.
So you mentioned that then, the self-employed model. So talk to me about how your business is structured. You have, yourself that runs the business, and then the agents. So are all the agents self-employed?
Yeah, all bar one. We've been up and down with agent numbers. We probably had 11 or 12 at our peak. We've now got 8.
Right.
Market dependent, people's life situation changes, all that kind of stuff. I'm very, very passionate about the self-employed model, mainly because I'm just trying to duplicate myself to a level, duplicate what I was doing early days.
Yeah.
And, I was self-employed. I was really hungry and motivated. I really wanted to serve people and get them moved onto the next chapter. I didn't have a salary to fall back on. I wanted to duplicate that, but bring their own personality into the process as well.
Yeah. And did you have more employed agents in the early days and you've kind of transitioned over time? Or is that something you've always done from, when James got in touch with you, did he come on board as a self-employed agent straight away, or was he employed and you've changed your model as you've developed?
No, that was always the plan, to take on self-employed and give partner agent, ultimately partner with the company and the brand. Yeah. But he joined as employed on the full understand, because he's coming out of an employed role with the full understanding that in 6 months' time he's going self-employed. So he needs to understand that, because if at that 6-month period he hasn't got enough clients, hasn't sold enough houses, then he won't be earning any money.
So you gave him the support to get going with the proviso that he needs to use that time to build up his network and build up his contacts and, stand on his own 2 feet.
Yeah, and in 6 months he went from appraising houses just to hit targets for the fun of it,
Yeah.
and to an average of $3,000 average fee, $7,500 average fee, working when he wants, how he wants, to a certain extent. But that's a whole nother discussion around work the hours you want as a self-employed estate agent. That's not actually.
If people have got that incentive, they change the way they work. They start working smarter, knowing that whatever they put into it in the right places will get them a better outcome. So they get a bit more cute about who they meet and what properties they take on, when they do what they do, rather than just trying to hit KPIs and just fill the diary full of numbers.
Yeah, I mean, trouble is, in any business you have to be driving the numbers.
Yeah.
And there's a certain level of performance that you need to have to be self-employed, because you might as well, if you're only going to earn 40 grand a year self-employed,
yeah,
you might as well go and earn 40 grand a year self-employed and have your holiday paid and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So you need to get into it with high expectations of yourself, I think. But when you get to that level, I think sometimes I've witnessed people come out of employment, it goes to their head a little bit, like all this freedom.
Yeah.
There's less freedom, I would say, being self-employed.
I must admit, when I first went self-employed, I used to go on dates with myself. So I'd be like, oh, it's a Wednesday, I'll go and get some tapas. Just because I was kind of like, I can. This is me, this is the freedom. And right at the early days, I had an issue where I was, right, I want to be healthy, I want to be fit. And I was going to the gym. The problem was I was going to the gym, then I was going to the supermarket, getting a chicken, coming home, making a chicken salad. And although I was in the best shape I've ever been in, a lot better than I am now, I was like, you're not doing any work, you're just faffing around. So I was kind of like, look, you got to stop doing that. And it didn't last for very long, but I kind of got out of the habit of thinking, oh, look, I've got all this freedom, I can do what I want, to then being like, actually, you need to graft. And then, like you just said, all of a sudden you don't have the freedom because you've got to put the hours in, you've got to put the work in. And then I kind of got addicted to it and just wouldn't stop.
It's really like when we're speaking to potential agents, we need them to understand that they're going to work, or they need to understand that they need to work harder than they've worked in the last 15 years of their career, at least for the first 12 to 18 months. But the freedom, I mean, it's the ultimate freedom. But then it's not freedom at all. It's really, really interesting dynamic that people need to get their head around.
Yeah.
You can be as free as you want if you want to earn no money. You can't work the hours you want because you've got clients that are relying on you to get them moved.
Yeah.
And if their sale falls through on a Thursday, oh, sorry, I'm off today. That's not self-employment. That's a job.
Yeah.
And if you want to be like that, go and stay employed.
Yeah. And I know from speaking to you before we started recording, you kind of appreciate the fact that your team are going to have full diaries, they can have responsibilities, and if you give them the freedom to pick and choose when they work, they're not going to be able to do everything. But you also want to maintain standards with your clients as well. So you have a backup team, don't you, with your agents that do like viewings and things. Do you want to just elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. So we're always changing. That's one of the things. Speak to any of my team, and they'll be like, the changes are both the best thing and the worst thing all rolled into one. But we're always changing to find a better way.
Yeah.
We've got a really cool kind of setup. We've got our agent support team, client support team, because our agents we see as our clients as well.
Yeah.
They deal with inbound, so any inquiries on houses and that kind of stuff. Of course, the agent can do them themselves. If it comes in at 5:45 and they're in the appraisal, they physically can't deal with it. So we've got the backup team to make sure that person's responded to quick. People's expectation of service has gone through the roof, I think, because of Amazon and things like that.
Yeah.
So, we've got our client support team. We've got our viewing specialist team who just show houses extremely well.
Yeah.
They're not there to sell the house. Part of their training is very much you're there to show them the house, not sell them the house.
Yeah.
And then we've got our kind of lead generation team who are working through our database for opportunities to get our agents advice meetings and appraisals and that kind of stuff. It works really well.
One thing that I find from sourcing, so I'm, a professional property buyer. So we do a lot of viewings, we deal with a lot of different estate agents. And I think one of the things I find frustrating is you have a property, and in a lot of instances, there's no one who's really in control of that sale. So you may have someone that opens the door, does the viewing, but you don't really have someone who's in control of the sale. And if anybody's listening to this on the podcast and you can hear any background noise, is it your dog that's...
Sorry. Yeah.
So if you watch this on YouTube, there's the dog, look.
She's sitting up fast asleep. How mad is that?
That's how my kids sleep. But yeah, just to go back to that, and it really frustrates me. And one of the things that I wanted to do when we started selling houses would give people that proper sales service where there's somebody who knows the answers to the questions, who's been to the property, who knows the vendor. And it might not be the person who does the viewing, like you said, but there's got to be someone who takes control of the transaction, who can give the buyer the service as well. Because I find sometimes the level of service to the buyers is really lacking, but buyers become sellers. And if you treat your buyers right, they become sellers. And I know you're really sort of big on that, aren't you?
Yeah, so it's things like, again, self-employment is just ownership. Like the buck does stop with you. We've got our support ecosystem around them, but as an idea, so because we've gone quite heavy in tech to enable better operations, the night before any viewing, so I think it's 7 p.m. If that viewing is not in the agent's diary,
yeah,
so the system knows it all. It says, great, that's a Steph listing. But it's in Julie's diary because Julie's one of our viewing specialists.
Yeah.
That person will get a specific text from Steph saying, hey, Sam, it's only Steph at Power Bespoke. You're viewing 123 Street tomorrow with my viewing assistant, Jenny.
Yeah.
Or Julie. Really sorry I can't be there, but here's my mobile number. They're going to just show you around.
Yeah.
Any questions before or after, call, text, email me anytime. And I'd love to help. So they're all viewers, because we done this because we did used to get a bit of feedback from, because we test and measure everything. We have a post viewing client experience survey that goes out automatically 2 days after the viewing, and it was cropping up a bit too many times that the person didn't know all information about the house or the client situation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Trouble you've got is I understand that feedback, but the alternative, if they would have been given the option before the viewing to say, look, do you want to view this tonight at 8 o'clock?
Yeah.
Would it be with Jenny?
Yeah.
Or do you want to view it next Tuesday at 2 when Steph's available?
Yeah.
They're going to always say, give me the viewing now with less information.
Yeah.
So we pre-framed it. So now we never get that feedback because they know going into it, informational needs that I was speaking to you about before, they always know you're going to see the house. Any questions? I'm your man.
So you set expectations. I guess customer service is the heart of everything you do. And we were chatting before about you can have expectations and sometimes your team don't always carry that through. Now you've set up some absolutely mind-blowing automations to kind of almost nip stuff like that in the bud. And you were talking to me before about the informational needs of somebody. So just give me a quick overview. What do you mean by the informational needs, how that works? And then a couple of examples of how you've used automations. I mean, you've just given us one to meet those informational needs to sort of set the standards and the expectations with your clients.
So I forget, and Royston will tell me off for this, but I forget the exact, like there's 3 or 4 needs that people need. I've latched on to the informational needs because that's something that really triggered my brain off when I heard it first time and relates so much to estate. Half the time, the poor feedback is because their informational needs haven't been served correctly. Yeah. For example, one of our brand standards is holding responses. So generally, an agent would say there's multiple offers, right? Just had same situation yesterday. 4 offers. My reply to him was, he went to best and final. My reply to him was, great, thanks for that, John. I'm going to be speaking to the client tomorrow. I'll let you know as soon as possible. I did leave it as soon as possible. I didn't promise in case I can't deliver. Spoke to the client and they pushed me out a few hours because her dad was unwell. So I message everyone else saying, John, quick hold and response. I'm not speaking to them now until later today, but I will let you know as soon as possible. So just the little touches. And the kind of story around informational needs is you go into a restaurant, beautiful restaurant, highly recommended by your friends. You sit down, order a glass of wine, look at the menu, look at the specials board. On the special is a lobster with camembert or whatever it is going to be. Waiter comes along 20 minutes later, I'll ask you to add a bit of wine, and you're like, I'll have the specials, please. And he's like, really sorry, that's all sold out.
Yeah.
And you spent the last half an hour mouth watering about this lobster.
Yeah.
And you're like, great. And you're quickly flicking at the menu, thinking, well, I'll have the steak then, because he's sitting there waiting to take your order. So it's stuff like that I just think we can really transform the client experience, not service. We're all in the experience industry.
Yeah.
Just so we should all be Disney. It just so happens that we're doing it sourcing for clients or selling people's houses and stuff.
Do you know what? I had the same conversation with my planning consultant yesterday, because we've got a planning application. We've gone to appeal because there was an issue with it, and the client sent an email saying, "Can we have an update?" And I spoke to the planning consultant. I was like, and he, planning consultants deal in detail. They go into great detail. And so I was chatting to him. He's like, "Oh yeah, I've written out this email, and it'll be a big long thing. He always sends War and Peace. I've just not sent it yet." And I says, "Right, do me a favor. Just send them an email saying, I've got your email. I've seen your email. I'm going to come back to you with a detailed response, if you can bear with me. So at least they know that you've seen their email and you're not ignoring them," which I guess feeds back into the informational needs.
Yeah, hold and response. I'll be back in touch by the close business Wednesday, and you end up getting to it Tuesday. Happy days. I'll do it a lot. I push out. I expect swerveballs to come in. I had a developer email me last Wednesday to say, got this site looking at, can you appraise it? 10 new builds from a GDV perspective. And I was like, I definitely can, but I probably won't get around to it until next Wednesday. Yeah. And he was like, no worries, just by Friday next week would be great. But I've done it on Monday and get it over to him. He specifically said, bloody hell, Perry, I thought you weren't going to get it to me by Friday until Friday. Yeah. So it's such, in my view, maybe it's not, but I just think it's such basic stuff.
It's an easy win. It's an easy win.
And it just don't get done. And maybe that's because this brand standards haven't been set to that level. I don't know.
I think as well, you've got to think like a salesperson. I think like a salesperson, you think like a salesperson. So for me, if somebody sends me an email or a text and I can't deal with it there and then, I might go, look, I'm in the middle of something now. I've got your email. I'll deal with it Friday. And then you set the expectation for Friday. They're happy with that because you've responded. Responding in the speed of response isn't what's relevant. What's relevant is that you've responded, and then you deal with it on the Wednesday or the Thursday, and you've actually beaten expectations. Whereas if you've got that on the Monday and you've ignored them, and then you've responded to their inquiry Tuesday afternoon, well, actually they probably thought, why is it taking you so long to respond and acknowledge me? And then you've responded. So even if you've delivered what they wanted after you would have done in the second scenario, because you set the expectation and then you've brought that forward, they're gonna walk away with a better impression of you or a better experience of what you offer.
Yeah, and I think it's like a bit of geekness as well. Like I think I can tell a lot about people by asking them to quickly share their inbox with me. Like share screen, can I see your inbox? And like do delegate, delete, defer. Like that's the rules of my life. A quick hold and response, hit the snooze button for 2 days on the email, it goes away and comes back in again, like when needed. Clutter, chaos. I think I'm probably a bit autistic, to be honest. Really, my desk is just so ridiculously organized.
Yeah.
But I can easily leave my towel on the floor after it. My wife is like, you're bipolar. You're a different person when you're in work mode than when you're in home mode.
Yeah.
The kids can trash the house and I can go to bed happily and go fast asleep.
Yeah.
She and I opposites, as in like she can't sleep if she knows there's a toy brick out of place downstairs. It's crazy.
Mate, she won't like me saying this, but my missus, our house is pristine. Like if you walk in our house, everything's tidy, everything's clean. I'll put a plate down and she'll clean it. I'm like, you don't have to do my washing up. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
You come around on a social occasion. I'll be sat down with you at the table. We'll have a drink, and she'll have a drink, but she'll be hoovering or putting washing on.
That's right. My wife as well. Bang, exactly the same.
But you go to her car. We used to car share, and in the end, I was like, I can't do this. It's like a skip, banana
Yeah.
peels, fruit in the back, rubbish everywhere, crisp packets, biscuits. I've got a new car now, and the kids are banned from eating in my car. So they always want to go with mum because mum lets them eat in the car and stuff. And it's the polar opposite. Like there's not a crumb of anything in my car, but I'm pretty scruffy at home. And then flip side with her. So you're autistic, but it sounds to me like when it comes to the information, you have that order. Your work life is all about the information and your clarity of thought, and you want to have your sort of ducks in a row.
Yeah, for me, the only reason I think agents, on the whole, the main reason, not the only, the main reason agents have got a bad rap is because they just don't communicate well enough.
Yeah.
Simple as that. There's not a lot to it. Do crap pictures, have shit marketing, but communicate really well, and you'll get recommended.
Yeah.
Because you were amazing at communicating with your clients. Now, the tricky thing is how do you do that without it consuming your entire life?
Yeah.
That's where efficiency, productivity, I share my schedule, my weekly schedule. I'm very structured, organized, brutal. People have said to me before, do you have a military background? And I'm like, have you seen me? Like, but people have likened it to military thing. And because clients will know on a Tuesday between 11 and 1, I'm playing tennis. Saturday and Sunday, I've got 4 kids. That's my children, family time. But my viewing team are around to show the property so the wheels keep moving.
Yeah.
It's not all on my shoulders. I'm the spearhead of the campaign. I'm the one that the buck stops with if it ain't priced correctly, if it's, but ultimately I've got a great team around me to keep me organized and, more importantly, serve the client when I'm not around. Yeah. Communication is just mad. So easy to do. And like one other automation example we spoke offline is that ask any estate agent and they'll tell you the same thing, that your best offer is probably going to come in the first 4 to 6 weeks of marketing. In this market and any market, to be honest. The only variable in that 4 to 6 weeks is the offers that you're going to be receiving. But quite a lot of them, I think, are kind of sometimes scared to tell them that. They're like, oh no, is that not too quick? Like, have you really maximized my sale price if we're going to take an offer in 4 weeks? So as part of our kind of, your property is now live, here's what to expect, kind of communication, covers all that. The facts are that your best offer is going to, 70% of your interest is going to come in the first 4 weeks of marketing. That's not to say that you won't get, so that means that your best offers are probably going to come in that period. That's not to say that your best offer won't come in when the other 30% of interest trickles in after 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks. But the probability tells us the longer it's on the market, the lower price you're going to have to take. So your best offer is going to come in that first launch period. So we kind of give them that information. So when offers come in, it's not a battle to explain that it's the best they're probably going to get.
And do you know what I find? And I'll be completely honest, I think I got this from you over the years, is when a property goes on the market, you've got all the buyers that are in the market, and then you're putting the property into that frenzy. And if you don't get a buyer then, you're relying on new buyers coming into a market full of properties. So when we're sourcing, we look at properties. We're either going to buy properties as soon as they go on the market, or we're going to buy ones that have been on the market for a while and they're not hitting the spot. And there's quite an
even better
identifiable disparity.
So your analogy there, amazing. So you would have read the Flowers in Your Garden blog, I would imagine, which is fresh bunch of flowers in the middle of your garden, hot summer's day. In the first 3 days, the bees are going to be like all over it, sucking that pollen dry.
Yeah.
After a week, 2 weeks, flowers are withering and the bees are just going to fly straight past it because it looks shit and it's been kind of sucked dry of all the good pollen in it. That's your house on the market. And then the other, but then to kind of reignite those flowers, your house, you need to reduce the price, change agent, whatever it might be. But the other point, yeah, you're right. One of our best strategies for finding houses for clients is the Zoopla most reduced filter. If they reduced a month ago and still ain't sold, they're right, because they're showing that they're obviously keen to sell because they're reducing their price, or potentially the agent over-egged the price at the start.
Yeah.
Probably a bit of frustration leading in. They've all reduced 5 or 10% off the asking price, and they're probably going to take a bigger hit to get it sold, clearly. So price well, price once, price to entice, all that nonsense that I go on about, but it's so true. Price low, sell high. Don't price high, sell low. You can't undersell a house as long as you properly market it. You could undersell it to the first off-market viewer. And again, information needs to buyers. You explain very clearly that we're in the first phase of market launch. You're welcome to make an offer, but the seller won't be accepting one until at least this date. So they can either make an offer now or wait until just before the date.
Yeah, that's interesting. So estate agency is very much reliant on having people that will sell their properties to you, through you. Sorry, not to you, through you. The estate agents or the companies that seem to thrive and grow are the ones who get the marketing right. And you know, from watching you from afar, I've always been really impressed with your marketing. So could you just tell me what your attitude is to business in general, and also your sort of marketing, is it thesis, or what were you looking to achieve with your marketing, and how did you approach it?
Do you mean like the marketing of the properties we're asked to represent, or the marketing of the company as a whole?
Marketing the company to get vendors to want to then list with you.
Yeah, nice. So content, ultimately, share all the stuff that most agents are too scared to share, or don't feel like they should be sharing, that kind of stuff. Like that was a bit, though, when I first launched, to compete with the big boys, I didn't have £1 million. Probably had 30. So 30 quid, 30,000 quid. So all I had, and that was just to pay my bills for 6 months. So it was pretty much me and a video camera and a whole lot of expertise to share that I've picked up over the last 17 years. You know, why do people should never choose to sell their house with multiple estate agencies? Whether you're going to choose me or choose them, just choose one. Don't choose both. Yeah. And it's stuff like that, because it looks like the place is, one, hard to sell because you clearly have to put it with multiple agents. So do I really want to buy something that clearly is hard to sell for when I want to sell it? And it shows you're desperate. So your offers are going to come in lower than what they probably should if you had one good agent handing your sale.
You're also clipping the wings of the agent, because rather than them getting the best buyer, they just want to get the first buyer.
Exactly. So I'll work on a joint sole basis with an agency. Like, we do that quite a lot, because some clients really want our strategy, but they also really want to sleep at night knowing their house is in a window display somewhere. Some clients are still quite, and that's fine. So I'm like, great, let's you give us web exclusivity, they put it in their window, and we'll 80-20, 70-30 work in coalition. You're better having 2 agents in coalition than multiple agents in competition.
It's interesting you said that about the window, because you've kind of moved completely away from not only having a high street office, but you've actually downsized your office recently, haven't you?
Yeah, so we're still going through quite a transition, because we've after COVID we've remained remote, and it's working well, and we just didn't need that space. So we've got the right tech to make sure that all clients we know what's going on with them. The team has feel supported, as much as they're saying, you know, we give them the choice. Do you want flexi? Do you want to stay from home? Do you want to go back to the office? And the unanimous was, I'd rather work from home and get together once every couple of weeks, once every month, for like a social. Yeah. Because we're all very happy cracking on working at home.
I think the beauty of estate agencies is you're not just stuck behind a computer.
Yeah.
In the field, you're viewing properties, you're meeting people. So it's a nice variety. I started off working from home when I started my original business, and I used to work at home in the office in the morning, and then I'd be out all afternoon. And I kind of like that blend and that mix that you get with property.
I was explaining to clients that you know, if we're in the office, we ain't doing a very good job. So ultimately, I want to lock up. I can lock up and leave, like for keys and that kind of stuff. I should be around houses, meeting buyers, If we're sitting there just to keep the door open, that's a full-time human resource that could be, I believe, put to better use.
Exactly. And so you have a team of people answering the phones and responding to inquiries.
Yeah, so we've got 6 days a week, 9 till 6, kind of inbound, front end, right move leads, Zoopla leads, viewing arrangements, appraisal arrangements, all that kind of stuff.
For all intents and purposes, then, using technology, you've got the impression of having a big office full of people, and they're all, working from different places.
Yeah, some amazing tech that's always been out there, but we were forced to find it more so because we wanted to operate as we were, but from home. Like,
One thing that I found, and you've probably found, and I know any estate agent or letting agent out there has probably found, is the off-the-shelf industry software very limited and very, it's not very customizable. The software that we use for our lettings is decent and it's good and it helps us run the portfolio. But I started using that in 2015, which is nearly 7 years ago, and I can't say that it's changed that much. Whereas the pace of innovation all around us, has been phenomenal in the last few years. And one thing that's really unique about you, and that I think other people listening to this or watching this might find, is you actually moved away from the industry off the shelf software and have moved on to a CRM system, more of a overall CRM system, Salesforce, which you've had customized over the years to create almost your total bespoke workflow and tech stack, which has enabled you to build your business how you want it. So tell me a little bit about how you've developed that over the last few years.
yeah, so when you're trying to create something, I guess I've always called it remarkably different, you need to do stuff and use stuff that's remarkably different. Like, agency software generally is as archaic as the industry itself. There's one way to book a view. This is how you book a viewing. This is the confirmation SMS if you're lucky, but email they receive, which 40% will be getting to their inbox if you're lucky. So then you're whinging about no shows, but you didn't have the proper reminder system set up to make sure to do show, which is burning resources and money in the business. So yeah, we kind of built from the ground up. For example, even if a CRM system does send a text message, it's generally the same template message for all users that are using the actual software. Not much customizability, but that don't help us when it's a viewing assistant meeting the viewer for one of Steph's listings. That's not pre-framing that she's there to show you around the property and be very helpful, but any questions, call me on my mobile anytime. So we just needed, for our intricacy ways of operating, we just needed something more customizable. And because I'm a geek, I'm half geek, half estate agent. It's really, really good. And it means that we can automate lots of stuff. So when an offer drops in on the property, the client's going to be getting a text saying, "Great news, John, we've received an offer on your property. We'll be in touch as soon as possible." That then puts more obligation on the agent to give better service and better informational needs to get on that straight away.
Because it'll spark a conversation, won't it, with the vendor who's, curious to know.
We've all been there. Offer comes in at 10 o'clock. You've got appointments. You've got I'll give that client a call when I get back at 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
The client, ask any client, when would you like to hear about new offers on your house? Pretty sure they would all say immediately.
Straight away, yeah.
So does it go down well at times with the team, what I'm trying to roll out? Not always.
Yeah.
But we're like a Amazon fanatic about the client, and we find ways to compensate for when we can't deliver on what the client we know wants and needs.
Yeah.
So we've got a buddy agent program. So each agent buddies up together. That's launched 2 months ago, which is incredible.
Right.
It used to be like a bit of a typical hierarchy, maybe, I help the agents and coach them. But now I've stepped aside from that and we budgeted them up because they're all great people. They're all great at what they do. They can all help each other. Steph's birthday today, she's off. I've seen 3 offers come in on one of her listings and Georgie's handling it. When it's Georgie's birthday, probably do the same. Holiday cover, the buddy program for unsure on what to appraise something at, they'll buddy up together and help each other. So it's really, so that's got around. If Georgie ain't around to deliver the offer, Steph would do it.
Yeah, that's great, and that's something that's transferable to any business, I guess, not just estate agency. So anybody listening who's not an estate agent, they can really implement that. I really like the offer form because you're kind of managing that expectation, getting them excited as well, and taking.
It's very important, you know. People are like, "Oh my god, they can't call to make an offer," and of course they can. Like we absolutely on the viewing follow up potentially the next morning. That's feedback's automated as well, but we get quite a lot of people say reply to that saying, "Morning, Perry. Great. Can you call me to discuss?" And they'll make an offer verbally, and that's fine. I'll put it on the system, receive the offer, but they'll be asked to go to submit a formal offer.
Yeah.
It's not formal until they've signed it. So we've got a digital signature.
Yeah.
And sometimes I agree, sales, be look, John, that's all agreed. I just need you to submit it formally with your solicitor details, mortgage advisor details, timescales of completion, special conditions. You know, if it's not on the special conditions, it wasn't discussed. So I want the American fridge freezer to remain. I want this, I want that. That all goes onto the memos. Happy days.
Excellent. And I know you mentioned briefly earlier when we were talking Royston. So for anybody who was unsure who you're referring to, that's Royston Guest, is it?
Yeah.
And is Royston one of your mentors and quite close friends now?
Yeah. He saved my ass in 2017 from going bust from a coaching perspective.
Yeah.
Business was really struggling. You don't know what you don't know, and he really helped me turn it around. And then since then we've stayed really close, and he coaches me ongoing to help me with the stuff I don't know, which I ain't no Lord Sugar. I'm an estate agent trying to grow an agency that does it better for the mover.
Yeah.
I'm not a businessman.
If anyone's interested in learning more about Royston, he's got a really good book out. What's his book called?
So Built to Grow.
Yeah.
Incredible framework for business growth and management. It completely, when you're OCD or obsessive, it gives you the framework. It's not just like a book, it's a framework.
Yeah.
And then for personal growth, he wrote a book called Rise, really special. So
in 2017 then, what would you say was the root cause of things maybe going not how you would want them to?
Spending more than I was making.
Right. So what kind of spending was that? Was that trying to reinvest in the business and grow too fast?
Yeah, probably. It was a bit of, I probably wouldn't say I was spending more than I was making, but I wasn't monitoring the numbers well enough, and I was too far down the line. He talks about the bowling alley. If you throw a bowling ball down an alley, down a bowling alley, and it's an inch offline,
yeah,
when it gets to the bottom of that bowling alley, it's going to be feet offline. Like it's going to be way out.
Yeah. So
there's a saying or something.
Is that called chaos theory?
I don't know. Might be something similar, but it was really. I was 4 or 5 months down the line, and the little mistake that was made 5 months ago, was just completely compounded, and I was close to going bust. So if I just been a bit more on it, I would have recognised it. So now, you know, the first Monday of the month is previous month's review, whole day. Some of them non-negotiables that really have to appraisal numbers, exchange numbers, really getting a handle on that, so I can see the problems coming sooner.
I tell you, one of the problems I've got as a business owner is I like to grow the business, and we have a good month, and I like to reinvest, you know, and build a team and develop systems and, you know, just create a better business. And sometimes I need to rein myself in and try and sit still and just consolidate and then have a good month, another month, and let the money build up. But I find that really difficult because I'm always wanting to go and do the next thing and add the next layer in the next you know, project. So I'm kind of becoming more self-aware that that's a weakness of mine, and I need to kind of develop that. And would you say that you had a sort of similar?
Yeah, I think massively. When you feel an obligatory mission, almost feel like I'm obligated to save people from the shysting estate agents.
Yeah.
And that's a big message to spread. And, I say that respectfully because people know who they are out there that generally don't really give a shit about clients and just want to bank a fee because they'll be going to do something else in 2 years' time.
Yeah.
So it's tricky because you want to push and push and push to give more people this really communicative, transparent, high performance approach to selling their house. And at the same time, you want to be around in 5 years' time to still be doing that.
Yeah.
So I guess I've switched from growth minded, and I'll always be growth minded, but more of an optimization minded.
Yeah.
So, optimization is, do we need more appraisals? No, we don't. We need to convert better the ones that we're already going to see.
Yeah.
If I spend a month on that, I'm not spending money. And actually the compounding effect is going to have a huge benefit on the business longer term.
Yeah, because one of the notes that I made before we started recording was about improving conversion rates. And the conversation we were having is, you used to run lots of Facebook ads, you're quite big on your marketing, and didn't you have your Facebook ads account sort of banned in effect? So you weren't able to post any Facebook ads, and you were just telling me about how you've adapted your business because you couldn't do that and had to look at things from a different perspective and how that's improved your business. Can you just elaborate a little bit on
Yeah, so I'm a young guy. I've seen the growth of Facebook. I keep seeing ads galore coming up, some good ones as well. And I shiny new thing syndrome. I jumped in deep with Facebook ads. We're getting some decent success from it, but then I outsourced it to an agency. I think they might have pushed the Facebook ads guidelines a bit too far, and I was blocked. That my profile was blocked. So from doing ads, so any Facebook ads account or ads manager that I'm linked to would just be shut down immediately.
Is that an indefinite ban then? Is that not something?
Yeah, I've been trying to get hold of Zuckerberg, but he ain't returning my calls. Like, there's no way to unblock it, permanently disabled. So I still use Facebook as a profile, but I can't run ads. Which actually, which has been a good thing, because we had to go back to just good old proper estate agency. 10 buyers inquire about a house that we're selling. 5 have got a house to sell. How are we going to get our asses into their houses to advise them and help them? That's a getting maximum return on Rightmove investment. If Rightmove is bringing you 10 inquiries a month on one house, great, you're going to sell the house, but that's not why you spend money on Rightmove, in my view. It's for the 5 that have got houses to sell, but then you've got to be a good estate agency and get yourself in there.
Yeah.
And what I think is really important with marketing at the minute is, pick 1, 2, maybe 3. I'm a massive fan of the power of 3, and just go deep on them. We ain't got a TikTok account. Should we have one? Probably. But the distraction of that versus getting our internal conversion machine converting at 50%, making sure that every client's leaving a NPS score of 90 plus, making sure every buyer or seller is leaving at least one review on one platform, stuff like that is more internal metrics that will pay dividends time after time when the Facebook ad is turned off.
Yeah.
Or Facebook quadruple the cost of their platform. So I'm not actually that fussed about Facebook ads anymore, even though recently I was doing some Google ads, and we had literally somebody had signed a proposal. They went through the Google ad landing page, funnel, video. They had signed our proposal of their £1.5 million house at 2% before we'd even been out to appraise it.
Yeah.
That was a really eye-opening. They were in France. They lived overseas. They were Googling estate agency and blah, blah, clicked our ad, and it just worked amazingly. So I know that when I get my mind around it, I'll get that happening 10 times a month. But I'm not prepared to do that until I know that the internal stuff that we should be maximizing on, we hit a minimum level of kind of KPI for internal marketing.
Yeah.
Because that's free. That just takes sweat and elbow grease, but no one wants to do it. So in general, people would rather stick a Facebook ad on and wait for the leads to drop in and hope that 1 in 100 convert.
Yeah.
But when I run the numbers, it just didn't stack, because to get a decent quality lead, it might be £5 a lead for £3, £4, £5 a lead.
Yeah.
Did 100 of those, maybe, and then it's really optimization. So I'm more optimizing the stuff I've already got.
Yeah.
Then I'll reapproach the old Facebook and stuff like that.
Interesting. I'll tell you a little story. When I was back in employment, the previous job I did before I went self-employed, I started a company at the same time as another young lad. We were both sales reps doing the same job. And he was very much a hunter in terms of picked up the phone, cold calls, got an appointment, did a bit of business, moved on to the next person, moved on to the next person. I've always hated cold calling. I like relationships. So I was much more of a farmer. So I'd get one client and I would maximize my opportunity with that client, and then I'd get a referral into somebody else. And that's how I've always built my business. I've never really done much marketing. It's always been build relationships with someone, get referred into someone in their network, and so on and so forth. And I think sometimes you can be a little bit too eager to go out there and throw more spears instead of looking what you've caught and making sure you're getting every pound of flesh off the carcass, if that's a good analogy. And focusing on, like you say, the contacts you've already got, the money that you're not monetizing that's already within your business. And the note I made was about improving your conversion rates. So you've looked, right, we've not got Facebook ads, we can't bring new people into our ecosystem. How do we improve the conversion of the people that are naturally already coming to us at the moment?
I mean, look, exactly that. And I showed you, we've had 95 people since the 1st of April with houses to sell that are on the market or not on the market, since inquiring about houses that we've already been asked to sell.
Yeah.
Crack that nut, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Get a house for sale, attracts buyers with houses to sell. Get their house for sale, attracts more buyers with houses to sell. Get their house for sale. And that to me is the number one metric. It's taken me 7 years to, have to cut out distractions of Facebook ads and TikToks and Instagram ads and funnels and online vow tools and that kind of nonsense. And I'm really excited, and I'm seeing improvement, and I'm just really excited because it's just as long as you list houses for sale, you're going to always have new clients coming in.
Yeah.
But it's the important stuff, of what are we delivering to those people, and when, how are we helping them move on to the next chapter of their life.
Yeah.
All that, I find it fascinating.
And I think you've just recently had your 4th child, little girl, now 9 months old.
That's it. 3 boys and a girl. Yeah, she's 9 months.
So how important is it to you, the work-life balance, and how do you kind of manage that as an ambitious business owner with a growing family?
So one of the amazing things, again, that Royston helped me more from his Rise book of the personal and the business. He's got 2 books, both amazing. But we banned the word work-life balance, and we've reframed it work-life blend. Balancing it implies that whilst one's up, one's got to be down.
Yeah.
And I'm just, the changes we've made. I do the school run every morning for Freddie, a 4-year-old. He starts at 9:15. I'm probably not on my desk till 9:30, 10:15. But I've compensated for that because I might dip out for an hour after dinner and do another hour. Like, it's the blend. Holidays for me are crucial every quarter. I'd rather go mean for 3 months and then have a proper week relaxing.
Yeah.
So it's different strokes for different folks. I can sometimes get too consumed in work and probably give the family a little bit of a wide berth, or, go in a bit too late. My wife's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you'd always find struggle, even if you've got no kids, because your work potentially will be pulling you away from your social life or from your sporting life. And it's just, you've got to find that structure. I play tennis every Tuesday, 11 till 1. That's one of my non-negotiables for probably mental health, physical health.
Yeah.
It's an agreement. I finish late on Monday nights because I like starting the week on a strong, but I might finish early on a Friday to go and take the kids out down the park or something. Yeah. Just a blend, which I really enjoy, because I do what I do. There's that saying, isn't there? If you enjoy what you do, it's not work. I could do this 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, happily. Yeah. I have got to understand that I've got 4 children that also need my attention, not just Power Bespoke and the business and client. but it's not work, is it? Like I don't dig up roads for a living. It's a mental thing, which is where I think your mental health needs to be priority.
You got that freedom. Brilliant. So what does the future hold for Perry and for Power Bespoke?
Much of the same, really. I'm at a stage where I'm just really got 4 kids, got a business with a really good reputation, both industry and consumer locally, and just keep tinkering, keep improving. Might take on another 2 agents, 3 agents this year, might not. You know, it doesn't really matter. We're not on a race to 200 agents, and you know, I want to make sure that everyone that joins us has a really good chance of success. No one's going to always ever be successful. I've learned that you can lead a horse to water and all that, not all that stuff.
Yeah.
But keep enabling people, whether it's through good advice. I want to get back into a bit more YouTube again because I just had a little stint of that, and then it realised how much of a hard grind it is to do it properly.
Yeah.
So yeah, much of the same. Keep living the mission, I guess.
Yeah, good. And are we going to be seeing more of you on social media?
Probably, yeah. I've been very with the baby and the optimization of the business itself. I've been very in that zone. But yeah, I've got a few more people that want to join the Power Agent course that I closed a few months back because I couldn't give it enough time that I wanted to for their success.
Yeah.
So yeah, most likely I'll pop up with some crazy stuff in a bit.
Good. And what I'll do is, I know that you run a different, the Power Agent course to train estate agents. So if you can send me the links, I'll put them all in the comments if anyone's interested in more information about that. But if people are wanting to reach out to you and connect with you, where's a good place to find you?
Facebook.
So
yeah.
Punch in Perry Power.
Yeah, there's not that many of us. I think there is one other actually.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm in the same boat where I've got a very unique name, so I'm actually really easy to find.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll put your Facebook link in the post as well, so people can find you. And obviously, if they've got any questions for you or for me from the back of this podcast, they can get in touch. I'm out of questions now, mate. I've had a really, really good time spending time with you before we started recording, but also recording this interview. You're an absolute behemoth in the industry. It's very easy in business to look at someone who's doing better than you and copy them. And I sometimes look at you and think, wow, you're just impossible to copy. The amount of unique strategies, ideas, and just crazy stuff that you just seem to come out with out of nowhere is amazing. So keep doing what you're doing. I've learned loads from you in the past. I'm sure the people listening to this will have learned loads about business, about life, about agency. So keep feeding the information out there, because there's people like me who really buzz off it. So thanks for coming on, mate. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, mate. Yeah, nice of you to say. So really enjoyed it.
If I ever get a nosebleed and find myself that far south, I'll pop in and see you.
Pop in. Nice.
All right. Cheers, Perry.
Thanks, mate. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Evolution of a Property Business podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.